There we go.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the Atlona webinar discussing AV in the post-COVID-19 business space. Let's get started with our broadcast. My name is Ken Eagle and I will be your host for today's webinar. And I am excited to share with you that joining me for this panel discussion today are David Shamir, Director of Product Development for Atlona. Hello, David.
Hello, Ken.
And Adam Griffin, Regional Sales Manager for Atlona in the Northeast. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Ken. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely, guys. All right, before we begin, let me just take a moment here and review the GoToWebinar meeting control panel. You should see the attendee control panel and the grab tab. The control panel contains panes that can be expanded or collapsed by clicking on the little plus or minus or arrow button on the left side of each pane. To ask questions, please type your questions into the questions pane. All questions will be addressed at the end of the webinar, so put them in there and hold tight. Additionally, you also have the chat window where you can send private and public messages. Please note that we are recording today's webinar and we will send out the link to playback this broadcast after the webinar is complete. With that, it is now time to begin our presentation. Right. Okay. Good morning, David and Adam. To get started, let me set the stage as to why we are having this discussion today. When business begins to return to our new normal, it will most likely be with guidelines to protect employee safety and prevent the spread of COVID-19. Sanitizing surfaces, social distancing, and masks will still be with us, and these present unique challenges for office and meeting environments. Of obvious concern is the typical AV system that utilizes the touch panel, a keypad, or other physical user interface to control equipment and room computers or cables that provide connections to the system. Now, this is a panel discussion today, so I want to present each of you, David and Adam, with a few questions on this topic.
Absolutely.
Now, Adam, let me begin with a question for you. What challenges do you see what challenges do you see customers in businesses and education markets facing as they return to their workplaces today?
Yeah, thanks. I think you touched on the first one that has become quite a priority over the past 2 months, which is not or reducing the amount of touches that a user of an environment needs to do to make that room work. So low or no touch operation of rooms that are things that we could have achieved in the past in the AV industry, but now they are more of a priority and need to get back into these rooms. In terms of the room itself, certainly we are seeing less chairs being placed around pieces of furniture, and those rooms that used to be designed for 8 to 12 users now all of a sudden are having half of their chairs removed, and we're looking at 4 to 8, which means there needs to be some sort of technology to take the content and action that's happening inside that room and send it to either an overflow room within the building or now out to individuals' homes. People are working remotely, so it just presents a different challenge. It's easier when everyone is remote because there are simple technologies to make that happen, but when you have a hybrid environment where some folks are in the room and other folks are not in the room, that seems to be a big challenge right now. How do we accomplish that? And the other one is just relying on automation technologies. The AV industry has done a great job at creating automation technologies over the past couple decades, but those technologies were typically reserved for very large, complicated rooms to make complicated things more simple. Well, now automation needs are in almost every square foot of the building, so it's been expanded. There's now talk of being able to walk into rooms and not touch anything, be able to conduct business or the learning environment without the complication of complicated user interfaces and things like that. So that's really, the last 90 days, that's been the top 3 for me.
Yeah, very good, Adam. Very good. Thank you. All right, let's David. So Adam brings up some really good points here. So that begs the question then, how is Atlona helping to solve these challenges in these meeting spaces that Adam has described for us?
Right. Very, very good points indeed. So let's talk about again the challenges in high level, and then dive into the ingredients and how to build those rooms and meeting spaces in this new era. So first of all, it's the how effectively build a touch-free AV, right? That's one thing that everyone is looking for. We want to minimize the touch, and if we have a room that is smart enough that we don't need to touch at all, that's even better. We also realized that there are some rooms with some certain technologies in there and some level of complexity that we will still require to touch the human interface in that room. So, okay, if this is the case, how we make the number of interactions or instances to the lowest number possible. And the third thing that we want to do is social distancing, right? So social distancing rules is interesting because now, as Adam mentioned, if I had a classroom that's supposed to be 100 students there, with all the social distancing, it might be a classroom now that can accommodate only 40 or even less. So that's something that needs to be baked into the AV design in those room now that we go in and make those room ready for COVID-19 era. And another thing that it's interesting to also to look at is the limited amount of people that are allowed to be present at a job site, right? We have system integrators, dealers that go and build systems. They cannot be long time there. They cannot send full crew, especially when the building is already being half populated and also social distancing is there. So things need to be very efficient. Things need to be fast. We just don't have the luxury of taking the time here until the employees are coming in, or they can just close and that's fine. You can still work and the other guys can work, do their job in the other room. So that's kind of imposing a little bit of issues. Now, if we dive into the first item that I mentioned here, the touch-free AV, so what are the ingredients really? What needs to happen? If I'm now a designer and I need to design a room, what are the things that I need to take into consideration? So first of all, we want to have ability to present the audio, video, the AV without any cables maybe. If we can do wireless casting, no dongles, no need to do anything of those things and touch some common pieces of technology, that's better. We want the system to be automatic in a way that the display will turn on when a content appears. That's another plus. We want to be able to switch to our content when we casting, for instance. If there is a local computer that is connected, and that's what you see on the display, and now I'm coming in with my BYOD computer and I want to cast, I want the system to be smart enough to flip to my content without me need to touch anything else and tell them what to do. I want things to be relays and triggers. I want those items to be there to automate other events and other technologies in the room. And another thing that it's important ingredient for the touch-free AV is it's the BYOD control. Not necessarily BYOD for casting and sharing the content, it's the BYOD for control. So meaning bringing my tablet, my computer, my smartphone, and maybe by simply taking a picture of the QR, be able to retrieve the UI to control that room. So that will be a big plus because I trust my electronics that I'm coming with. It's with me. It was in my pocket. Nobody else touched it. I know what I did with it. So it's a level of confidence of using my device to control the room if I need to. The second item we talked about is the low touch rooms. So we want in this one, what are the ingredients? We want, as mentioned, automatic switching. We want to have systems that are programmed to run predefined rules and commands and trigger technologies when detection happens, like occupancy sensors and etc. We talked about social distancing and the fact that now there is more need for overflow. So we need technologies that will be able to take the presentation that happens in one room and send it to other rooms. But not only that, we want that technology to be full duplex. Because keep in mind, this is not the regular tradition overflow before COVID, where there was this lecture one type, like it's a class that happened. So people will ask questions. So you want to be able to be seen in the other room and also get the questions in a minimum latency possible with a high quality of video that you can send. And the fourth thing here, ingredient, is the fast time for complete the installation. And here we need tools that will enable us remote provisioning, remote monitoring, and fast and tools that will enable us to program the room and do the control, install the technology in the fastest way ever. So tools to enable us to work faster.
Excellent. Good points there, David. I mean, just to summarize, we know we want no-touch solutions, and Atlona offers some of those. We also know in some instances we can't be completely no-touch, so we have low-touch solutions that make sense. And I think a great point, installation time, something I think a lot of people haven't even considered, but you're going into a customer's workspace and they may not want you in there when their employees are in there. So being able to be efficient, very important. Excellent points, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Adam, let me jump back and ask another question of you. One thing we've observed is that COVID-19 has actually accelerated the use of technologies that have been slowly making their way into business communication space. For example, things like cameras, USB devices, soft codecs, and even special meeting spaces like connected huddle rooms. Now, can you elaborate on what you and your customers are seeing in this space?
Yeah, I feel like we've had a couple years of progression happen in 60 days, and you know, we're just figuring out what these rooms are going to look like now. And one of them, it's clear that soft codec use, you know, from everyone from my children in elementary school through, you know, the professors at a university are now fully used to using them now, and the adoption rate has just gone widespread. But what's also clear is that there isn't one winner necessarily. There are a few of them that are used most often, but the days of calling one room a given type of room for communication are over. These rooms now use all of the various soft codec platforms that are out there, and they might be changed by the hour. A guest comes in and likes to use X, the next one comes in an hour later, he likes to use Y. Right. So it has to be really flexible in terms of that. And a lot of the mechanics behind that are what you just mentioned, USB peripherals. The needs of having at least one, but very often a new trend that I've been seeing lately is 2 USB cameras, forward facing and rearward facing, especially in education. So that's a challenge. You have, you know, USB run length limitations that all of a sudden you need to start thinking about extending it. How do you integrate it? We're adding layers of complexity to pull off these very simple rooms. The other part is, you know, things like document cameras and microphones and speakers are all using the USB connector, and it makes them really flexible, but there are some design needs that need to be met there. So certainly USB, universal on the codec side of it, and then the utilization of the network has really come to the forefront now. You know, we're not only using the network for distributing audio, video, and control signals, but they also need to figure out, well, how can we get 60, 70, 80 soft codec web conference calls happening in this school at the same time with all these classrooms? So the network has become very important, utilizing it for not only distribution, but the soft codec platforms themselves. So collaborating with the IT departments is very important. AV is not just AV; it's AV IT. We're all working on this together for singular solutions.
So some really good insight there, Adam. Thank you. Let me throw out another idea, a curveball. I think maybe you might be well equipped to give us some feedback on. We talk a lot about commercial space and education space. What about as we get into things like the medical field and the use of equipment on carts? Do you see that being increased or driving more demand in this period we're in today?
Well, yeah, I think it's changing the way these systems are designed. Certainly, we're seeing medical facilities, whether they're emergency or care facilities, need to be flexible in their floor plan and their uses. So there are times where there may be surges of certain parts of, let's say, a hospital, for example, where we need to have data outputs in places where you normally wouldn't need to have them, like in hallways or large presentation areas and things like that. So yes, we're seeing the AV systems being put onto these carts, and you need to have a data jack to stream bidirectionally your AV to go from that environment to other places in the building, or to doctors or surgeons that are not in the building and need to be able to see these high video resolution content. So the days of putting a data drop every so many feet are changing, because these spaces have to be really flexible now.
Yeah, again,
great insight. But, yeah.
Great insight. Thank you. All right, David, let me bounce back to your side and let's ask, how is Atlona addressing the issue of adoption for all of these accelerated technologies and meeting spaces that we just heard Adam talking about?
Right. Excellent point with the USB and the cart, indeed. So we have a portfolio today that pretty much answers the need in the era of follow COVID-19 and the restrictions. When it comes to touch-free AV and also to level of low-touch AV system, we have two excellent choices. We have the Omega MS52W, which is and also the SW510. Both the picture of the products are here on this slide. Those products enable us to do native casting, meaning wireless casting of a content from BYOD, smartphones, computers, tablets. As we mentioned before, I want to use my electronics because I trust it. And I don't need to use any apps or dongles or any of those things. I only need to use what is already available in my operating system, which means the AirPlays, the Miracast, and the Google Cast of the world. Full display control, so I don't need to program the system. The minute the cast happens, the TV is on. And those devices also support the relay ports, trigger ports, so I can trigger other electronics, other technology in the room to do something, either to start or follow detection, right? So those, we have triggers and relays on those systems. From the control perspective, we have the velocity control system. And today, you can start using it for BYOD with no additional cost to the system. So you install the velocity, it's already there. You now can bring the employees computers and tablets and smartphones, and you can take a picture of a QR that either can be printed or can be displayed on the panel. And now each employee will have AV control on that room. And we have the mechanisms already in place to make sure that this QR code will change after the meeting is over, and make sure the security is there and discard old QR codes. So there will be no tails of somebody that's still managing the room, even without the meeting to happen. So we also have the OmniStream encoder, and that will be a good choice when it comes to overflow, right? We have another point we wanted to address. It's the overflow rooms. So we need technology that will be able to sense content to the distance in the lowest latency possible. And this is what Adam mentioned, the utilizing the network, the AV and IT. So our OmniStream AV over IP, it's a product line that enables 8 millisecond latency end to end. That's very low, best in the industry latency that we have today. And we can do full duplex if we design the system properly. And the fact that it's almost no latency and the infrastructure is over 1 gigabit per second, that allows us very easy, flexible solution to just go and do all the overflows. We have AMS. AMS is Atlona management system, and now allows us to do the management holistically of the installation and the provisioning. So health monitoring, software upgrades, configuration from one central console that can manage the whole system. So those are the tools that enable us to both do the easy, fast to deployment, do the overflow, OmniStream, touch-free, low-touch, MS52, and SW510 systems.
Yep. Excellent. Very exciting stuff there, David. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's, as we're kind of winding down in the webinar here, we've touched on a lot of topics. Let me summarize a little bit of what we've talked about here before we jump into a Q&A session. We got a lot of good questions coming in, and I want to make sure we have time to address these here. So to summarize, what we've heard both Adam and David describe for us are a couple of different solutions coming out of Atlona to address what we're seeing in the market today. We're looking at touch-free and low-touch solutions, which are using products like the circuit-based Omega solutions from Atlona with automation features like automatic display control, automatic input selection, and the use of an occupancy sensor to turn the room all on and get it up and running. So in a very low or even no touch solution there. Also, we're talking about OmniStream, which is Atlona's AV over IP solution, and having automation built into that solution, and even allowing us to have create overflow solutions with that product as well. Wireless presentation in both the 510W and the new Omega 52W, which have automation features built into those, and of course, no touch solutions, and Velocity, allowing us to do the bring your own interface. And let me expand on that just a little bit more too. Not only do you have bring your own interface in, you've got room booking as well, which is a great feature too. And now you've got from Atlona beautiful touch panels, scheduling panels that illuminate to show you the status of a room. So now you have visual cues without touching anything from across your workspace, and you can see if a room's available or if it's in use. And of course, you get the QR code that you can scan now and use that on your own device to create your own touch panel, so you're not using a shared surface. All right, let me also, before we move on, remind everyone about the next 2 webinars. Remember, this is a 3-part webinar series. Today's our kickoff with David and Adam talking about the concept and what Atlona is doing to address touch-free in this post-COVID-19 meeting era. In 2 weeks from today, on July 23rd, I will be back, and I will have with me Seth Powell, who's the manager of sales engineering for Atlona. And Seth and I are going to talk a little bit more about how we'll use the Omega solutions, the circuit-based solutions, to create a touch-free or a low-touch solution. And Seth's actually going to bring on one of the wireless presentation switches from Atlona. He's going to do a live demo for us right on the webinar, bring up the control interface, and we're going to show you right in the 30-minute segment exactly how to get a touch-free room up and running, load the codes in, trigger from an occupancy sensor, and make everything work just like that. So it's going to be a great webinar. And 2 weeks after that, on August 6th, I will have back with me Justin Kennedy, who's our product manager for control and management. And Justin's going to bring on the Velocity control system, and he's going to show us that QR code solution that David just talked about. He's going to set that up right in Velocity. He's going to bring in his own wireless device, scan a QR code, and show you how fast and easy it is to be up and running with your own device in controlling the solution. So sign up for both of those. If you can't attend, sign up anyway, and we'll send you the link to the recording so that you get a chance to view it. All right, and one more announcement. I have to let everybody know, if you are not utilizing Atlona Academy, please jump out to atlona.com, click on the training button, and sign up for Atlona Academy. You can find all of our training material here. We have over 16,000 active people worldwide going through our training programs. We have over 15 hours of accredited industry curriculum in there. And I mentioned it's completely free. So you definitely want to be part of that. Also, don't forget about our YouTube channel. Learn no matter where you are. Take our training experts with you. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll never miss out. All right, David and Adam, let's jump in and address some of these questions. We've got a lot of great questions coming in from our guests today. And let me throw a few of those out here. Adam, let me start on a question for you right here. Someone is asking about design assistance. We've talked about all these great solutions here in this touch-free space. Does Atlona offer design assistance to help people get up and running in this touch-free space?
Sure. Yeah, we have actually Seth and his team will offer that for free to really anyone to help develop a bill of materials and even discuss a little bit deeper about the actual use of the room, the needs of the room, and that's something that we do quite often. So understanding he's going to come out in a couple of weeks, but if you have a need today, tomorrow, any time before that, reach out to us, and we can provide everything from a D-Tools, a Visio drawing, and really make sure that we dot the I's, cross the T's here for you. Not a problem.
But how much extra does that cost, Adam?
That is for the total sum of $0.
Oh, so, fantastic.
That's even
better.
Great, I love it. Yeah, we can generally turn things around within a day or two, depending on the complexity of it. There's a lot of activity happening right now in this space, as you could imagine. So, but we have the staff to be able to help out.
Excellent. Another question here. The listener says, how about if the instructor wants to teach from home, but turn on the room remotely and control from home? We will have velocity and a cloud account, but a simple path for instructors. A question posed by our university president. So it sounds like we have an integrator who's talked to a university. The university president has asked this question. I don't know, David, your thoughts on an instructor controlling a room from home?
So they're looking to control the AV in specific remote location from a different location.
Sounds like maybe an instructor is got to be home that day. Maybe like Adam said, they got to run their kids back and forth, do something. Can't be in for the class, but the students are going to be there.
Absolutely.
Can they broadcast themselves into the room and turn it on?
So from the AV control perspective, the answer is yes. One of the benefits of Velocity is one of the options is to use or utilize the cloud. So through cloud connectivity, we can remote control the room. Of course, security is there and permission needs to be granted. But if all those items are there, yes, the answer is yes. We can do the remote and be able to control the room remotely. It's the same philosophy as an IT guys and AV administrators that they try to help out remotely without going to the room where technology is.
Excellent. Another question. This is regarding velocity. Someone's asking, is the QR code function already available for use with the touch panels, and which velocity firmware will support the QR code?
So we have already preliminary. So it's going to be 2.2 to support fully the QR code functionality out there. We already have demos of that one, and that is slotted to August.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, David. And going back to that last question about the university, some further clarification, saying that they have some elderly teachers that fear coming on site. I know we had a discussion about this earlier. And then also, can the cloud path be made simple so that someone who's not so computer savvy will be able to use it?
To program the remote connectivity, or?
I think they just want to make sure that maybe a professor who's maybe not a computer whiz might be able to easily make this work from home still.
Yes, one of the benefits of Velocity system, it's a configuration based. You don't need to code every different interface. So you don't need a career path here to do control system. And another benefit that we have is that for the same room, we can have different UI interfaces that can be tailored to the person that would like to control it. So for instance, if there is one auditorium that somebody wants to control it remotely or within the auditorium as well, and that teacher is using all the technology available, he can punch his pin code on the user interface and he will see a UI that has all the electronics there and all the technology. Now, if somebody else is coming and he's only using basic instruments in that room and doesn't need all the rest of the stuff, it's just going to create noise here. So he can punch his code and he can see the devices that he's used to or would like to work with. So the same philosophy can go to both on-site or remotely if this is the case.
Yeah.
And I can actually add one thing to that. David, upon entering that PIN code, we can have a macro issued to have the room set the way they want the room set. So if someone walks in and just uses the document camera every single day, and they just need that to be displayed on a soft codec platform and the projector in the room, typing in that PIN code, that's all they have to do.
Absolutely.
There's no understanding of the electronics or how it works at all. We can have it set for them.
Excellent. And just to reinforce that learning for that, you can access the Velocity training courses online through both our YouTube channel and through the education portal, and learn exactly how to use that PIN code. Great point, Adam. Another question here, Adam, let me ask this of you. Are programming skills needed to set up automatic display control or automatic input selection? I know you have a lot of customers who have set this up. Is it difficult? Do we need to be a programmer to be able to enable this?
No, I like to say, and this might be oversimplifying it, but if you can shop online on a website and select things and put them into a cart and save, you can do those basic things like automatic input selection, auto display on. It's simply selecting the brand and model of a display and saying what is the priority input. So you're just clicking from a drop-down menu. You know, sometimes for some of the other options available in this industry, you need more input and code writing to make that happen. Ken, I think you have like 10-minute videos on YouTube that will walk someone step by step. If you can, you know, make your way around an internet browser, you can make this happen. Very simple things, should not be overly complicated to do, and they're not here.
Yeah, and on the next webinar in 2 weeks from today with Seth, we're actually going to do exactly this live. We're gonna program one. I shouldn't even say program because there's not really programming involved, but we're going to set one up exactly to do this live on the webinar, so you can see exactly how easy it is. Also, I didn't mention, and someone asked, the next two webinars that I just mentioned. How can you sign up for those? Atlona.com. Click on the resources tab, and then select webinars. And that takes you to our webinar page. Both the next two webinars are there. You can click on the link and register right away. After this webinar is over, marketing will also be sending out notifications on the next couple of webinars, but you can already go ahead, see them online and register for those. All right, another question here. Does Atlona offer an occupancy sensor? If not, can you recommend one?
At the moment, we don't offer Atlona-made occupancy sensor. What we have worked in the lab and had a very good experience so far, it's basically everything from Lutron. Lutron occupancy sensors worked very well for us, and I believe they have a good extensive offering there. So we tried them, we installed them in various projects, so it works very well.
Excellent, thank you. I had a question here from someone who is asking, by the way, says, thanks for all the great information. Would also like to know if there's any kind of certificate that he can get for system designer. So I'll answer that. If you go out to Atlona Academy, to our education portal on atlona.com, you can see all of our list of courses on there. There are 5 different levels of courses that we offer in our education portal that start with basic understanding of AV knowledge, move into circuit-based solutions, velocity control, networking for AV, and then our AV over IP system itself, which includes switch management. So you can take and get a certificate for any one of those classes. You can take all of them and attend our hands-on training where you work with our products physically in our lab or in a virtual session, and you can earn a full Atlona partner certification as well. So there's lots of opportunity to get some great certifications with Atlona, and you do get certificates for all those, and all of our courses are accredited with the VIXA and with CEDIA, and in some cases BIXI. So you're going to be advancing your continuing education credits with those classes as well. Okay, another one here. I think, Adam, you might have answered this, but let's make sure we've got it. Which soft codecs do Atlona Solutions work with?
Well, the nice thing about our architecture is that we don't run any of the soft codecs on our devices. We let them live on the mobile devices that individuals have. We know that brand X might be really effective and maybe even trendy today, and something else might be more effective or more cost effective tomorrow. Organizations change very, very quickly there. So the short answer is all of them, because they can all be on your phone or your mobile device or the room PC. We are completely agnostic. Every platform can be utilized. It's simply video and USB content to us. We just pass that straight through the connectivity.
All right. One last question here, David. And I think this is maybe kind of a good way to wrap things up here. But someone asked, how do you start AV in a touch-free room?
It's depends how big or small and what the room is designed for. Options are all the way from occupancy sensor to automated with a velocity control system that turns on the room the minute the schedule happens. Casting, if you start casting to that room using your BYOD and you know the credentials to go and do the casting, it's not the first time, then that will turn on the room and trigger other events. It really depends on what else is there in the room and what else needs to happen when you start your AV. All the options are supported today. So
yeah, there's very often already another subsystem in the room that we can utilize: fire suppression system, security, access control, surveillance. If any of those systems are already in the room, they likely have the ability to either talk to our system or create a status that we can do something with. So that might be as simple as a contact closure on a magnetic switch. It might be an occupancy sensor on the wall that's already in the room. We can utilize these things that are already there. So there's a lot of different options.
All right. Excellent. Adam, David, thank you very much. You guys have been great. Appreciate all your insight and feedback today. Remember, everyone, we are recording this webinar. We are going to, if you've signed up for this, we're going to send out an email to you, which will contain a link to the recording. You can always visit our webinar archive. You just go to atlona.com, click on the resources tab and select webinars. There you'll see all of our webinars, and in the upper right corner, there's a button that says Atlona Archive. From that archive, you can access all of our webinars, including this one that'll be up there later today. Feel free to share that link with everyone. All right, everyone, stay safe. We appreciate you taking time to join us on our webinar today. If you have any remaining questions that you didn't get a chance to ask, feel free to send those to training@atlona.com, and we'll get answers back out to you. All right, everyone, take care. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.